Now we're going to take a look at how to set up your equipment catalog specifically for snow and ice estimating. So what we're going to do here is walk you through how to set up the standard costs and prices for the equipment you use when you bid snow and ice jobs. Now the most important thing when arriving at your equipment costs is figuring out your billable hours. You have to calculate how to recover the cost of the machine's depreciation, repairs, insurance, and fuel, all in just the hours we can use the equipment. Now, what makes this complicated in snow is that some equipment is dedicated to snow, and some equipment you might use all year. So what we're going to do here is go through a couple of examples of how to calculate it for equipment that you use just in snow, but also how to calculate your costs accurately for equipment that might get shared with other divisions. Let's start with the easy one, which is calculating your billable hours for your snow equipment. And for this example, we'll assume you've got a backhoe with a snow pusher on it. Now let's say, as an example again, that you're a company that can't really use a backhoe throughout your summer months. It's really just dedicated for your snow contracts. What we need to figure out is what to charge for this backhoe in our snow contracts to make sure we're recovering all our costs, to carry it for the entire year, and to replace it when it's done its useful life. So the first thing we want to calculate, or at least estimate, is our billable hours. It's impossible to know exactly how many billable hours you're going to get in snow because snow is variable. But you can calculate an estimate of how many hours you usually get. For this example, I'm going to assume our snow season typically offers us 150 billable hours or working hours a year. Now, depending on your climate, you might be more, you might be less. We're just trying to find a happy average. Let's take a look at how we might set up this backhoe with pusher using only 150 hours per year. So I'll flash back to my equipment catalog, and I'm going to go new here. Now I'm going to set up an item name called Snow Backhoe with Pusher. I like putting the name snow in front of the equipment name. That way a lot of my snow stuff is grouped together under the word snow. Now type could be equipment. Units are going to be hours because we're going to estimate our snow contracts in hours, not days. And then I could optionally put in notes and descriptions here. What's really important is over here, the cost per hour section. So I'm going to click this, and now I need to fill out these fields. Our billable hours, as we just discussed, are going to be low, 150 hours per year. What we're saying here is this machine's only going to work in snow. And we're going to estimate an average year, it's going to work about 150 hours. That means we need to estimate 150 hours worth of work in our snow contracts for this to recover its costs. Number of hours in a typical workday would be the length of a typical shift. And now here we got purchase price. So let's say this backhoe is going to cost us $60,000. I'm going to set the market finance rate to 1% to keep up with inflation. If you pay interest on this machine, you may want to raise that a little bit. Next up is the expected life. Now, because we're only using this machine in snow, we should get a lot of years out of this machine. Again, it's up to you how fast you want to roll your equipment over, but because I'm assuming we're not using this very much, I'm going to give it a long life. And it's still going to have a fair bit of value at the end of its life because, again, it's going to have low hours. So I'm going to guesstimate its resale value at the end of the life. You can use used equipment websites to calculate approximate residual values for your snow equipment. Over here is annual maintenance and repair. Again, with this low hours, it's probably not going to be a lot of annual maintenance and repair, so I'm going to keep that number low. Insurance on this equipment is going to be relatively cheap because it doesn't drive on the roads necessarily. Annual licensing, well, it doesn't need a license. And then we got our fuel rate. So I'm going to put in my estimated price per gallon or liter of fuel and how many gallons or liters of fuel I think it's going to use in a shift. At the end of it, you're going to end up with an hourly cost and a daily cost for this backhoe with a pusher. Now, just remember, flashing back to this number here, that purchase price would include the pusher itself. If it doesn't include the pusher, you didn't buy them as a combination, then we need to add the pusher into that as well. So let's say, for example, the pusher was $12,000. If that price didn't include the cost of the pusher, then I need to add it in there. And possibly I'd be able to get a little more resale value, although it's doubtful your pusher is going to have any life left in it after 15 years. So make sure when you're using your purchase price that you are thinking about the machine and the snow equipment that goes along with it. Once you're done with your numbers, click OK. And what it'll tell you now is how much you need to charge out per hour for this machine. and what you need to get on a daily rate if you were going to bid it by the day. So if this machine is $60 an hour and an operator that I just worked out in the labor catalog was also around $60 an hour, you're starting to see your shape for a loader and an operator come out. Here in this example, this company would have to charge about $120 an hour to recover all its costs. We'll look at that closer when we get into estimating and put those two together. So I'll click OK and save that. Now let's look at another scenario for equipment. And this is a little more complicated. When you're looking at something like a pickup truck, that's a piece of equipment that you're going to use all year. So for instance, it's going to push snow in the winter, but then in the summer months, it's going to either pull a construction trailer or pull a maintenance trailer. So we wouldn't want to calculate the cost of the truck over 150 hours, our snow season, for instance, because that truck's going to work a lot more hours. In fact, it's probably going to work somewhere close to 1,600 hours, plus or minus, depending your climate and how long your season is. To get that 1,600 hours, I assumed 40 billable or working hours a week at 40 weeks a year. Now, on the other hand, that pickup truck's going to be equipped with a plow and a salter. And the plow and the salter are only going to be used in snow, 150 hours. So I don't want to put any of the plow or salter costs into the pickup truck costs, because otherwise it'll jack up my rates on my install and maintenance jobs that wouldn't require a plow and salter. So although this seems a little complicated, we can fix this really easily. And let me walk you through the steps. Let's go back to our equipment catalog now, and let's start with the truck. Up here, I've got an example of a crew truck that I've created. It's just a crew truck. I don't want to include the plow, the salter, or anything in this. Even if you buy them as a unit, what we need you to do here is sort of separate the purchase price of the truck and the purchase price for the plow and salter, even if you bought them combined. Do your best to logically split what each one is worth. Now over here in the cost per hour, I'm going to fill this out and I'm going to have my 1,600 billable hours. So my truck is going to be spread out across my whole season. Purchase price is the cost of the truck. Again, whether new or used, you can watch the regular equipment catalog video if you don't know how to fill this out yet. My market finance rate or my inflation rate, how long I keep our trucks, what the truck is worth at the end of its life, approximate maintenance and fuel costs for my truck, my insurance, and my fuel use for the truck. After I've filled in all these fields, I'm getting an hourly cost of about $8.50 for the truck. And remember, that's spread out across 1,600 hours or basically a whole working season. That's our truck, but now we need to figure out what our cost is on a plow and possibly on a salter. So what I'm going to do is just go through the exact same process, this time for a snow plow, but I'm only going to factor the cost of the plow. I'm not going to worry about the truck with it. Clicking on the calculator here, I've said a snow plow can only work 150 billable hours. I've got a 10-hour shift, and I'm saying our plows cost us $8,000, keep them 8 years, and they're worth nothing at the end of 8 years. I've got something in here for maintenance or repair each year. I've got a tiny bit of insurance, no licensing because I don't need a license for just a plow. And remember, a plow doesn't burn any fuel, the truck does, so I don't need any fuel costs in this either. What I end up with at the end of this is a cost for the plow of about $9 an hour. And you may be surprised the first time you do this that a plow per hour actually ends up costing typically more than the truck. And that's because there's so few hours on a plow. Now, if your trucks come equipped with a plow and a salter, you're going to want to repeat this exact same scenario for a salter. Again, I've created a salter just by itself, no truck or anything. I've clicked my calculator, I've set 150 hours, and now I put in the price, the life, and the resale value of the salter, a value for repairs on the salter each year, some insurance, and again, assuming our salter is not gas powered, I've got nothing in here for my fuel. So now I've got a cost per hour for my salter, a cost per hour for my snow plow, and a cost per hour for my truck. All I need to do to come up with a crew truck and snow plow cost per hour is to add these three together. I'm done with the calculators. Let's look at as an example for just a plow and a truck, no salter. Well, my truck is $8.50 and my snow plow is $9 per hour. So I'm going to create a new item that says crew truck and snow plow. $8.50 plus $9 is $17.50 an hour. And now I've got one equipment item that includes the truck and the snowplow rolled into one nice neat cost. I worked them out separately because there's very different billable hours, but then I've come back around and put them together for a crew truck and a snowplow. Now the cost of my salter was $10.50 an hour. So if I had a truck with a snowplow and a salter, I could set it up like this: crew truck, snowplow, salter. Here I've got my plow and truck together. I'd have to add my salter to this. Now it was $10.50 an hour, so $17.50 plus $10.50 is going to bring me to an even $28 an hour. So I'd need to get about $40 an hour for a plow truck when I'm bidding it to cover all the costs, to recover a bit of overhead, and to make a small profit margin on this. Now you can do whatever you want with your profit margin. If you want to increase it or decrease it, you can change the settings here. But now what you've got is a system for calculating exactly what your snowplow truck costs with all the equipment on it. Pushing your truck together with the snowplow and salter in one item makes it a lot easier for your estimators when estimating. You don't want them to have to pick the truck and the plow and the salter individually. It's a lot easier to just add the three of them together, or two of them if you just have a truck and a plow, and merge them into one item. And all I did to do that was simply add their individual cost per hour together to come up with one total. So it's not too complicated, but setting up your snow equipment can be unfamiliar at first. Once you get used to it, it's fairly simple. On equipment that's dedicated to snow and ice, simply estimate your billable hours and make sure all the costs of the equipment and any of the snow attachments like a plow are built into the cost of the equipment. For equipment that you use in two different seasons, just make sure you separate the stuff that's used only in snow from the stuff you use all season long, and you'll end up with accurate costs and prices for both. Add them together, and you'll come up with one nice neat package for estimating snow and ice work. So if you had any questions about this section and how to attack calculating your costs and prices for snow equipment, email us at support@golmn.com and we'll get you the answers you need.